Okay guys, just checking because I haven't done this for ages. I just want to check, can everyone hear me? If you can, then we'll begin. Okay, awesome. It's saying something about the bit rate being a bit slow, so I'm hoping that it's not going to chug. But let's. Also, it might be a bit loud. Let me turn that down. Oh, that's really loud. Okay, that's really loud. Let me turn this down. Sorry, guys. That's better. Right. Hey, BGI. So it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been at least probably a year, I think, since I've done one of these. So that's why I'm a bit rusty. But I'm here. So yeah, hopefully you can all hear me. I can see his Blackhead Dan Chen White. What? Is it Saya? The hedge cat. Is that like the sort of like opposite to the Sonic the Hedgehog? Hey, we've got She-Wolf as well. That's cool. Good to see you. So we've got a few old timers. Not old in actual years, but you know, you've been watching the channel for a while, so it's good to have you all back. Kelly Pippet, what's up? Yeah, it's great. This is good. Rare Drumpler, that's a good name. I like that. And yeah, awesome. So guys, this isn't going to be like, this is just going to be me chatting really about what's happened. I don't know if I know a lot of you have watched the last video that I put up. Hiya Stexon, I love your content, thank you very much, appreciate that. Yeah, so talking about the content, what's happened, which is really annoying, but unfortunately the way it's worked with YouTube over the last couple of years, it's become harder and harder to make content, especially which involves kids in it. I think YouTube has really bent over backwards to please the advertisers, and the advertisers don't want any kind of drama when it comes to stuff with kids. And the problem with the FNAF, which I know a few of you wanted FNAF versus kids stuff, the problem, oh thanks Red Rumpler, you are my child, that's very kind of you. I love those sort of comments when you realise that something you've made has meant something to someone. It's a really big compliment, and that's kind of why I do it, because it's just so nice to hear that sort of stuff. So yeah, the kids versus FNAF stuff, YouTube doesn't like it because their advertisers don't like it, because it's got kind of scary characters in it, and it's got children, and the two they don't think go, which I don't believe. I think I grew up with horror, which is why I'm such a fanatic about horror films. And for me, if it's done right and it's not just done for gore and things like that, I think horror has a place. I always say it's a bit like with Five Nights at Freddy's. So Toby, my son, who's in the Five Nights at Freddy's versus Kids videos, he had some problems at school with that whole thing, because he told the teachers, I guess, because he liked showing off about being in YouTube videos, and they were like, you can't have kids playing Five Nights at Freddy's and doing this sort of stuff. So they were really against the game. And I don't know if you guys, I don't know a lot of you are US based, but there's a game called Operation, where it's just literally all you're doing is pull out, well, I mean, even this is pretty sick when you think about it. You're pulling out organs out of a character laying on a thing. You've got your little tweezer things, and it will buzz if you get it wrong. And also Buckaroo is another one where you put things on the back of this donkey and it will kick if there's too much weight, and it makes you jump. And so for me, Five Nights at Freddy's is just that. There's no gore, there's no sort of, I mean, you could say the characters are scary, but they are just teddies. And the whole idea of Five Nights at Freddy's is during the day they're meant to be kind, friendly looking characters. It's only when you put it at dark, and I think it's just a lot with horror, which I like about horror, is you can take any everyday object or location, and actually the weird thing with that kind of creepiness is the more friendly or secure you feel during the day in these places, or using these things like dolls and teddies, the creepier it is when you remove people and daylight. And so, for example, a classic for me is the playground. So the playground in the day is a really happy, nice place to be, but at night it's terrifying. And I don't know, a lot of people don't seem to understand that there's nothing wrong with that kind of horror, because as a child you grow up not knowing fearing the unknown kind of thing, and I think it makes you more healthy. Definitely gets your blood going when you have jump scares and stuff. So I kind of argued my point, which I probably shouldn't have done against the teachers, but it was just like, there's Five Nights at Freddy's. There's nothing wrong with it. As a game, it's just got a jump scare. That is it, and it's exactly like the old, not board games, but the Operation and things like that. So why these advertisers have got something such against that, I don't know. But at the end of the day, they have, and so they basically squeezed the kids' content, especially with the Five Nights at Freddy's and other kind of bendy machines, Hello Neighbor, all that sort of stuff, to the point where you just can't. Well, they've I think, as if you've seen the video, they've removed my advertising on everything. So I had a choice to make, and it's either do I continue the channel with no advertising on it at all, which I could do, but it was literally my livelihood. I've had to find a way of finding new revenue streams, which I've managed to do. It was almost like, it felt like I was jumping out of a dinghy or ship as it was sinking, and a great white just came and just crushed it just as I managed to get onto the helicopter kind of thing. That's what it's felt like. So at the moment I'm actually working freelance for a company, actually a games company, doing some assets for them and things like that. So that's enough for me to survive. But it's just obviously it takes all the effort that goes into these videos, and it takes that away. So the plan is to do the game, the Bubblegum Monster game, and so that's kind of where I felt like this for about a year now. I felt like it's something I've needed to do, because I think a lot of you didn't realise this, but I used to work in the games industry. I started like way back, probably before a lot of people on this channel were born. I started in 1999 in the games industry. It was a company called Climax in Brighton in the UK, and we used to do like racing games mainly. Actually a game called MotoGP, which is like a motorbike game. But anyway, so I started in there, and then I went to EA, and then I went and worked for a company called BlackRock Studios, which was owned by Disney. So I then left the games industry in 2011, but did little stints still working for some other companies and bits and pieces, like Natural Motion, I think it was CTR Racing or something like that. I can't remember what this game was called. But anyway, so I have experience in the games industry, and so that's where I've always loved film, always loved making videos, and I loved making the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which seems to have a lot of love actually. It does seem to have really held its own for the last, I mean, we made that in 2017, so we're talking about, I think, yeah, pretty much 6 years now that's been up, and it still seems to get a lot of nice comments on that. A lot of people saying if the film's anything like this, whenever this film comes out, which I'm assuming is probably the end of this year or something, then yeah, it'd be good if it's like that. So that, you know, again, like earlier when you guys were saying about it was your childhood and stuff, that, you know, that's what I love seeing that sort of stuff, people who really loved the sort of the FNAF movie. And just, I guess a lot of these people now were like 12 when they watched it, and are probably 18 now, so it's really strange that it's so long ago now. But yeah, so that was kind of like, I loved doing horror, and I loved the FNAF versus Kids because I just liked introducing my son and his cousins to horror in a nice way. And I think there is a balance, like Goosebumps is like that. It's got a good balance. You can still have scary, but it doesn't have to be gruesome. But saying that, I did love the FNAF movie, and you could go that little bit further with it and make it a little bit more gruesome. Like there's a bit in the film, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but there's a bit with one of the security guards like falling, and he's got all half his like face is all like sort of mashed up from where he's been stuck in an animatronic. So I love all that sort of stuff, but I couldn't do it with the FNAF vs Kids for obvious reason. And this is what kind of annoyed me about the YouTube thing, is I was bending over backwards trying to appease the YouTube algorithm and the YouTube gods. And like back in like 2019, they were like going, oh, you know, kids content is the way to go, you should be doing this more, and it was kind of like forced on you, kind of like that. So I was like, well, I'll keep doing this. And then it was just like they've just done a whole kind of U-turn, and it's like, oh no, kids content's really bad, you should be doing more adult sort of content. And then they've obviously removed all of the money, and but then now they're saying, oh no, you can't do too dodgy stuff, like swearing and things like that. And so they've left this really thin line of where you can be on YouTube. It's really strange. So it's like my answer is like, well, I'm just going to make a game, because with the game, one, I've got the knowledge of making games, I've got knowledge of making movies, and I want to combine the two, and I want to go back to kind of my roots of making a proper scary horror game, or horror story. It's more of, I mean, it's going to be a game, but I've always wanted to do this story. And so there was the Bubblegum Monsters universe that I've been developing over the last 3 years, I think. Really in the background. It was only recently where we started to do the movie, the YouTube videos on it. But still, it was still based, because my audience is still quite young. It's still, I mean, we've done a poll on this. If you look on the community tab, it's still between the ages of 8 and 12. It's like, I think it was like something like, I think it was like 67% or something like that. It was quite high. So it's kind of like getting that balance right with those kind of videos was where I wanted to be on the YouTube channel. But with the game, it's almost like a no holds bar for me. It's like, no, the original concept for the Bubblegum Monsters was a lot darker than what you see in those videos. And so it's like, right, well, I want to do that now, because YouTube have basically forced my hand and said, no, you can't do any of this sort of stuff. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to go proper dark then. I'm going to do exactly what I've always wanted to do. And saying that, it's not going to be, I mean, I know a lot of you guys, especially I think Blackhood loves the whole gore side of things. I've never been a big fan of gore. I've never liked the whole kind of like slicing someone's neck open for the sake of doing it just for views and stuff like that. It's not something that is on my radar, and I don't think it's that scary. You can have something far more terrifying by just suspense alone than having this like maniac going around with an axe. And I think that's again going back to Five Nights at Freddy's, why it was so successful. And I personally think why the original was the most successful one, or at least the first two, compared to the later ones, because you had these like characters with no emotion in their face, just these happy smiles, which is why wearing a mask is always terrifying. And I like to play on that a lot more than the gore. So this game is going to be a storyline that I have written. Like I said, I've been working on this for the last 3 years. The YouTube is one side of it, but the idea, I've actually basically written a storyline for a film. It's something I'm working on. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to send off to places like Netflix and things like that. That's the idea behind that. I've got a few connections with Netflix. I might be able to get this into being a film, but in the meantime, I'm going to make it into a game. Like The Last of Us was a game. So it's like, well, if that's now a TV series, then there's no reason why this can't be a game first of all and then a TV series. That's the idea. So I'm going to start. Yeah, I'm going to start working on the game, based on the storyline that I have written for the film. So it will be very similar to the film that I've got laid out, but in game form. And I think there's some great scenes in the film that will transfer really well into games. And I haven't seen anything in games. The closest thing I think to what I've got in mind is something like Resident Evil, where Resident Evil does that really well. The indie kind of scene with the horror stuff, it's alright. I mean, Bendy and the Ink Machine was alright. Wasn't that scary though. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, just one trick pony with the jump scares. Poppy Playtime, I didn't think that was scary at all. Well, Hello Neighbour, bit like kind of the jump scare stuff. So mine's going to be, I'd like to think, the next level, like proper, like you're in the FNAF movie basically. It's going to be like that kind of like tense scenarios where you're trapped in a corner and there's something after you, like, rather than just this kind of like jump scare type stuff. It's going to be a lot more suspense, and I've got the whole lore to the back. Well, nothing against Scott Cawthon, because I think he's done a brilliant job with Five Nights at Freddy's, and he's managed to utilise all of the fan theories to kind of create this massive kind of universe. But I don't think he really had a plan to begin with. I think it was all just kind of like some very silly little ideas that he put in with the kids' posters and stuff. Not silly ideas, but these little ideas with the kids' posters, and people ran with it, and he then expanded the universe. But then kind of can't tie it all back together, because it's kind of like there's just bits have gone everywhere. And this won't be like that. This has got, I've ticked my eye, crossed my eyes, and whatever the terminology is. So everything's kind of properly like planned out. I think most of it. There's still room for expansion, and actually that's where you guys, I really want everyone to be on board on this game. And this is where then I'm thinking this channel can go, because I just think it's going to be more about now making this game and the input from you guys as well. I'm not saying that everything will be added, because then you just end up with a big mess, but it can take you in exciting places that you wouldn't think you'd go, because someone will come up with an idea and you're like, we can run with that. And I just think it's a really good opportunity where everyone, the community, and especially this community, because it is so FNAF based and it is so indie horror type kind of based fans, that everyone can contribute. And I think I'm in a really good position where I can put all of that together into this game. So this is where I'm also doing the Patreon thing as well, because I'm not monetized at the moment on YouTube, but having it on Patreon means that we can have different tiers, which means I can give you access to different areas of the behind the scenes of me, even if it's like, so I guess it depends on what you're interested in as well. And that's another reason why I'm doing this live stream now, because I want to know what you guys are interested in terms of what would be seen on this YouTube channel, and then what would be seen if it was a paid wall on the Patreon. Or what areas would you like to see, like live streams like this? Would you like those sort of things? Would you like to see, like we used to do, creating a Bubblegum Monster, things like that? Would you like to see that, but creating a character or some art assets for the game, maybe the art development side of it? And this is where I need to start getting other people involved, is I'm not an expert on design, and I'm not even close to an expert on coding. I can't code at all, so this is what I need help with, the coding side of things, and so I will, as we're progressing, start looking for a coder, and I think that's all quite interesting as well. I think would you guys like to sort of have that kind of inside information on what coders do? And I don't know. I mean, this is kind of why I want this open debate now, is like to find out what you guys like. So make sure in the comments, I'm going to read some of your comments now, but make sure you put it in the comments as well, what you would like to see in terms of developing this indie horror game. What areas would you really like to see on the YouTube channel, but also then on the Patreon side, because we're going to put like tiers. So a basic tier where you're just a member and you're just supporting the channel, and then you'll have other ones where you'll get like the live streams, and then another one where I could even like supply some of the art assets out so people can use them in their games. There's just so many areas that we could go with this, and this is a game where this is almost like a brainstorming session, because I think it's to have your input and your ideas is like going to be a massive help to this. So let me just quickly read through, because I've seen there's actually quite a lot of comments. Strangely, weirdly, this is one of the most popular live streams, and I haven't done, there's no sort of FNAF thumbnail or anything like that, so it's quite surprising that so many people click on this, because usually we get like 12 people or something. So it's really it's really, really exciting. If I had the dollars, so where should I start? Oh god, there's quite a lot actually. Okay, so I'm going to quickly flip. So YouTube is throwing all kinds of BS to the creators. Yeah, Blackhood says she will. Rare Drumpler. I remember when copyright wasn't even a problem for some people. Somehow now it's a problem, and the videos get banned, and they don't let you appeal. It's like yeah, exactly. So you're releasing videos as well, Red Drumpler. YouTube is so big, and yet they've tried to automatize everything, because it is a bit of laziness. I don't care that the fact that they're releasing billions of videos, or people releasing billions of minutes of videos a day, is not an excuse, because they actually said that they reviewed my content. A human reviewed my content. That's what they actually say. So it's like, well, if a human reviewed my content, surely they would have noted down what videos they felt breached their new policies. And if that's the case, why couldn't they tell me? There's no excuse for it. It's just laziness. It really does annoy me. But it's like, it's not worth. I mean, that's the thing you learn in life. It's not worth getting angry about these things, because that's the past. And if you're dwelling on the past, all you're doing is causing yourself issues. No one else cares. YouTube doesn't care how I feel. So I just got. What do they say? What's the saying? When you're served lemons or whatever, make lemonade, or whatever the saying is. That is what you've got to do. You just go, okay, I can't do that anymore. What can I do? Oh yeah, Operation. Yeah, kids game. Yeah. Are you saying that advertisers don't like Operation? If so, they should be fired. Yeah, everyone should like Operation. She-Wolf. Only gore you're getting, it's in cutscenes, and there will be more of it within the movie. Yeah, I think gore. The thing with gory stuff is, if it's done well and it's done at the right point, it's fine. It's just, I'm not a big fan of slasher movies. They just feel like it's gore for gore's sake. It should be on a T-shirt. I think that's quite good. Um, so I'm just sort of like skipping through some of these. Right, so Aiden's Imagination, that's a good name. So I guess I have one question. What is the game going to be like? If you mean is there a game to compare it to that's out already? Well, it's going to be like, I guess in terms of, it's going to be free roaming. It's going to be like, I guess, Security Breach in terms of the sort of graphic style. Probably a bit more realistic because I think Security Breach is still a bit cartoony. But then and just because of the nature of an indie game, I know a lot. I've watched some videos. There was one about the problem with horror games these days, or something like that, and he had the guy had an issue with being released in chapters, which I do get. I do understand that, because obviously, especially when you get into a game and suddenly it's just one chapter, that's annoying. But then at the same time, it is quite a good model to be able to release a chapter, take what you can from that in terms of money, to then put straight back in to make the next chapter better and bigger, and just keep funding the game. And that's because if you're just doing it all on your own, it can take years. Whereas if you can start generating the revenue straight away to then pay someone to code it, or a few coders and a few artists, you can suddenly get the game out quicker. And that's one thing I want to iterate as well, because I think it might be in Blackadder, it might be in Dan Chen, I'm not sure, we've having a chat, and it was about the whole kind of Poppy Playtime thing. And I know there's a bit of controversy about Poppy Playtime, in that the developers of that, which I didn't actually know this until I watched this video, and it's funded by the YouTube channel, which is Mob Animations or something like that, and they're basically money grabbing. That's what they were going to do, NFTs with some of the Poppy Playtime stuff, and there was a lot of that kind of, like, it seems like they just want money from people. And I think maybe it's an artist thing. I've never been a money orientated sort of person. I never want to just grab people. I just want to make something that people love. And like I said, again, reiteration what I've said earlier, is for me it's more about the audience. Like, I used to love the reactions that we used to get. We used to get people wanting to do reactions to the FNAF movie, and I was like, yeah, definitely do it. And I just want to see what your reaction was, so send me a link afterwards, sort of thing. And so the same with the game. But the reality of it is, and this is something, again, you just learn as you get older, like, as much as you might love something and want to do it as a job, it is a job. Like, you have to look at it like a business, like the YouTube thing. It's like, you might love doing it, but at the end of the day, you've still got to eat and sort of have a roof over your head, and you haven't got those things, then you can't love what you're doing. And so this, though it is going to be a game for the people, and for people that especially like horror, it's still got to make money so that I can then make the finish the game. And so the chapters thing is the only way that I feel like I can do that. So anyway, I am a king of waffling, so I'm going to carry on with the questions here. We've reached a point where everyone is either hypersensitive or non-reactive to things. Yeah, that's very true, She-Wolf. Okay, let's see. I was going to say, actually, if you have a really burning question, you can use the super chat to put it. I've got no super chat now because I'm not monetized. There's not anything wrong with this channel at all, says Wyatt. Yeah, well, I mean, I like to think. I actually had someone. There's a thing called TubeBuddy, which is kind of a YouTube. What would you call it? It's a piece of software that helps you to sort of see best thumbnails and best. You can sort of like, it will suggest sort of titles for you, and also show you what other videos are trending, so you can kind of follow them, that sort of stuff. And they've got a forum, and I put up because like I said, in November they were talking about demonetising my thing. I was like, I don't know why, so I put it up on that forum, and one of the guys that actually runs that company looked at my channel. He said, I don't see anything wrong with it. It looks like it was just a red flag, or whatever they call it. So don't worry about it, basically. So I did. I took off some of the videos that I felt maybe would sort of having a problem, but as it turns out, they didn't seem to matter, because they just, yeah, I think they've got a whole problem, the whole channel. You should work for Paramount or Universal. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I don't really want to work for anyone anymore. She-Wolf, could you be more specific about the sensitive or not? So I'm just seeing which ones are on that direct question. So Cyrus says, and since you did some videos of Sonic, can you add Shadow the Hedgehog in the videos? Well, I can't, because again, even though Sonic isn't FNAF, the thing that YouTube told me in their little tiny thing, which was like a sentence long, was that I was basically sensationalising things and using that to sort of draw children in. So it was like, okay, so that could be the FNAF, but it also could be Sonic, because obviously kids love Sonic. So it's like, but isn't that like every channel? Like, what channel doesn't have something on their thumbnail to draw people in? So it's so stupid. It's not even worth talking about because it's so ridiculous. Yeah, so I guess what you're saying, says Danchin, you really want to make videos, but you can't because of YouTube. Yeah, it's a bit of both, because it's weird. I always remember when I was about 10, I always wanted to make a video game, and but I also loved making short movies and stuff. So it's almost like combine those two things that I've always really wanted to do into one. So it's kind of that, but it's also because I do actually love. I don't really play computer games anymore, but I do love. I just look, because again, a similar thing with the whole kind of someone watching your movie and getting an experience from it. It's almost like another level for computer games, because that person isn't just watching it on the screen; they're part of that storyline. So that's what I love about computer games. Since you did some videos with classic, that's the same sort of question. Dan Chain, could you be more specific about how blood and gore aren't actually that scary? Because it's not the good blood and gore that's scary. Like, it's blood and gore, if you think about it, is just like the same as watching, I don't know, some like vets program where they're cutting open a dog's tummy or something like that. It's like, ooh, I don't want to see that. Well, I don't anyway. I mean, some people might get off on that sort of stuff, but I don't. It's not that's scary. Like, that's not scary. It's the threat that's scary. The actual blood and gore bit isn't scary. You could argue that it's the blood and gore that causes the threat to be more menacing, but actually I would argue it's your imagination that causes the threat to be more threatening or scary, because you imagining how scary this thing is. Once you've seen the monster, I mean, this was the thing I worked out when I was like 7, watching like horror films. If I closed my eyes and stuff and waited for all the sort of jump scare sounds and then opened my eyes so I could see the monster attacking the person, it was like, oh, actually this isn't actually that scary. And like, yeah, it might have all the blood and stuff, but it's like, it doesn't really matter now. It was that kind of the tense moments when that build up. I mean, the classic thing in films is, once you've got the scary thing out and about, it's not so scary, but then you hide it again, and then you've got that moment again. And it's like, in fact, I watched Avatar: The Way of the Water the other day, which I didn't actually like that much. I know loads of people raving about it. I just didn't think it was that good. It was basically the same as the other one. But I'm not going to waffle about Avatar because this isn't about Avatar. But there is a scene in that where this like sea monster is trying to attack one of the Na'vi, and I mean, James Cameron's other than Steven Spielberg, he's my favourite director, and he does action really well. And if you guys are old enough to watch Aliens, I highly recommend you watch Aliens, because for me I think it's probably my best film of all time in terms of especially sci-fi horror. But what he does very well is he will build up the tension, and then he'll show bits of the monster and you'll get scared, but then he'll like level it up again, so then the monster will disappear again, but still the threat's still there, and he'll just keep doing that. And so you don't need gore. You just don't. Gore is not important at all. It's just the aftermath of the threat. Okay, so I've been working on some little stuff. Says Tyler. Oh, that'd be cool. I don't know what when you say little stuff. What stuff? Like, is it art or games or? DCF 2000. Will the game explain how the characters in the videos, like Real FNAF vs Kids, became real? No. No, it's nothing. It's the game is going to be nothing to do with the FNAF vs Kids. It's got no relation. FNAF vs Kids, I started to tie into the Bubblegum Monster universe, and I think it's really cool how it ties in to that. But the game is going to be based mainly on the Bubblegum Monster universe film, which is mainly just, I mean, also because if it becomes part of like a Netflix series or something, you can't have anything to do with FNAF. You just can't, because it's all copyrighted, whereas on YouTube you can get away with it. But yeah, so the game is going to be a totally standalone. It's not going to have Springtrap in it. It's not going to have any of those characters. It's not going to have any FNAF type characters. I will say that it has got some characters in it that are reminiscent of FNAF characters, but they're not FNAF. So it's kind of, I guess, appealing to FNAF fans. I think it is, in that it's got that. But I think it's got a much, personally, obviously, because I'm making it, but I think it's got a much better grounding for the reality of it, rather than just someone stealing someone's souls, which is all a bit voodoo-y, magical kind of stuff, which is fine. But I think, for me, and again, going back to Aliens and Alien, those sort of films, the reason why I love that kind of content is because it's grounded in a science. And if you've got something that's scientifically based, even if it is a bit of like out there kind of science, it still makes things feel much more real. And again, you can make the monsters feel so much more real in that way. So no, it's not going to have FNAF in it, but it is, like I say, going to have essence of, you know, I don't want, because at the end of the day, I've been doing FNAF for like 6 years, so it's nice to have a little nod to FNAF in it. I think this will be a PC exclusive for now. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be similar to like Bendy and Eat Machine and that sort of stuff, where it starts on Steam, and then if it's successful, then probably get the funding to them. You could probably put it onto like PS5 and Xbox. Speaking of Resident Evil, have you heard of the Tool Lady? Long story short, and it's called Tool. Sorry, I don't know if it was a pun from you, Dan Chen. It became a meme. Yeah, I don't know that one. No. So just going through your questions still. Bioshock, yep. Bioshock was quite cool. That's an old game. She says, I want to start and continue my channel too, but I don't know if I should at this time. I think the thing with YouTube, as long as you're not making things too violent and you're not making it too kiddie, but like you can make it really kiddie, like ABC kind of stuff now, and you can do like, if it's got kids in it, it has to be like educational basically. It has to be an educational thing where they're learning something, or science-based or something like that, then you're fine. And if you're doing artwork, I think you're fine. But you've just got to ride between those lines. YouTube banned me from live streaming for copyright, even though I didn't have anything copyrighted as rare. Yeah, I mean, again, there's these like flags that come up, and it's the algorithm or the whatever they use to sort of scan these videos isn't foolproof at all. And then trying to get hold of YouTube is just ridiculous. It's so hard. I only played FNAF 1, says Tyler. Yeah, I mean, I still think FNAF 1 is probably the best one. You're not going to do the game all yourself, says Shrew. I never know how to pronounce your name properly. Connor. Shrutus. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do the game myself. The plan I have at the moment is to... The very first thing I'm going to do is a trailer. That's like a teaser trailer. And then the next thing I do is going to start developing the first level in art form. Okay, so I'll have all the assets ready and I will be able to lay it out like a game. And so you guys will be able to see me developing that, but it won't be a playable game at that point. But then hopefully I'll be able to get enough of a kind of almost like a tech demo kind of thing, or in movies like previs, so that I can then go to coders and maybe I think design, actually I think I'd be alright with, but mainly the code side of things, and say, look, this is the idea for the game, would you want to come on board? And especially if we've got a following with it as well and it's starting to build up momentum with the help of you guys, then I think people will want to be part of it. And so then we can then get code involved and we can start actually developing that into a game, and hopefully by that point most of my work from that first level will be kind of done, because it's like, obviously I'm still going to be needing to refine things and some animations and things like that, but the one thing I have become very good at over the last sort of 5-6 years of chucking out videos every few weeks is knocking out stuff really quickly, like artwork and animations I can really churn out. So I think that side of things won't be an issue. I think I could make a whole game. When I watched like Bendy and Ink Machine and all that sort of stuff, so I could do that. I could do that myself. I'm not sure I understand. I do. I understand. Sorry, Siri, but I understand. Yeah, I think I could definitely knock that stuff out in about a year, like just me. That sounds really big-headed, but it's just I've been doing it since like 1999. I'm really old, and so I just know these things. Like I know how it's all done. And also, it's almost like too many chefs spoil the broth, or what the saying is. I'm really bad with sayings. But the thing is, if you've got so many people building these games, and it was the same when I worked in the games industry, you have to have like a whole kind of system where people take out assets and work on them. Other people can't work on that asset at the same time. So you might have someone modelling it, and then someone texturing, and then the texturer's doing it, but then the modeler wants to make a change to it, and they have to wait till the texture's finished, and there's all this kind of like to in and fro in, and it's a massive machine or circus of people trying to do this game. Whereas if it's one person or like a very small studio, you can knock stuff out really quickly, and everyone is in the same room at the same time talking to each other, and they know what everyone else is doing, and it's a really good way of working. Like when I first started in the games industry, it was quite a small studio, and there was like on our team, I think there was only like 12 of us or something like that. And then when I went to EA, it was like I think there was a Harry Potter team, and there was we were on Battlefield, and it was just huge. It's like, there was like just on Battlefield, I think it was like 60 people. In fact, there was EA in the UK, and then there was DICE, which was the studio that was developing it in Germany or something like that. So it was like 2 studios doing this game, and you just didn't know what the left or didn't know what the right hand was doing half the time. So you felt like you were gear in a machine, whereas when you're a small team, you know exactly what everyone else is doing. And so if it's just me, I know exactly what's going on. But yeah, I will need code. Your FNAF loved your. Oh, this is Simwix. Loved your FNAF movie, and you're so good at editing. I love your videos. You're insane. I'm not sure exactly what you were saying there, but it all sounded good. So thank you, Simvix, for that. The UK is getting back to the game stuff. Yeah, there is a lot of studios opening again actually in the UK. Dan Chen, so you really want to make both videos and the game, don't you? Yeah, I mean, the thing is Dan Chen saying that. Yeah, and also I was sort of thinking, is there a way we can tie in the YouTube stuff, like actual like videos from YouTube, like storyline videos, into the game, and maybe have like little Easter eggs in the videos. So if you watch the videos, it will unlock something in the game. Like if you see it in the video, you can put 2 and 2 together. But the thing is, it's so many of those things where you're just like, that could work, but it's almost like you have to do it first. You have to start building the game, and then you go, I'm going to do a video based on a secret door that you would only know if you were just playing the game, you wouldn't find it. But if you watch the videos on YouTube, you'll find something, some kind of thing in there that will tell you where that door is. I don't know. These are the sort of idea. Again, this is where you guys are. I want your help on this. I want you to comment, and if there's anything you can think of that you think would be really awesome in the game or in the videos, or what you want to see behind the scenes, or anything like that. And since you did some videos with classic Sonic, you really want me to do the Sonic stuff? Can you put model? I'm not doing anything Sonic in the game. Nothing Sonic. I can't because it's copyright. You can't. I mean, with YouTube you could get away with it. I mean, obviously now I can't, but you could get away with that stuff. But yeah, the game is going to be totally about the Bubblegum Monster universe. It's going to have the characters. Bubblehog's going to be in it. He's going to be a big part of it. It's not going to be. I'm not going to be in it. I'm not part of this universe. But it's still. I'm kind of the videos that I would do. I'm kind of like almost like a like the Marvel kind of stuff. You've got the main universe, and then the other characters are sort of part of it, like Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of sometimes mix with all the other characters, but not all the time. So I was like kind of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of person. Then Rare Drum Player says, why were you rendering it at 5 nights of Freddy's character in the video? Yeah, so that's like I say, the YouTube videos were still tied with FNAF. They were still had that linkage. It's very small linkage, which was mainly Springtrap, but it's still that linkage there, which worked because of a storyline thing that hasn't come out yet in those videos. But that is still there as part of that. So FNAF still exists in those videos. It just doesn't exist in the game universe. I'm trying to think of an example like that in films. I'm sure there's films that do that sort of stuff. Like you get the TV series doesn't touch upon certain subjects that are in the film. So Ryan's got banned, did he? Ryan's Toys Learning got banned apparently. Some videos. So Tyler says, my channel is doing a new thing I have not done that I have not done for about 2 years. Oh, that sounds cool. you already have a composer, right, Peter? Yeah, I do have a really good composer. In fact, I think he's done films and stuff. He's really good. So if there's a stream when I'm gone, I won't be able to get there. Wait, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the park tomorrow. No, there won't be a stream tomorrow. There won't be a stream. Tyler, I put up some stuff that I've done in 2 years. I did not put. Okay, so yeah, that's Tyler's YouTube channel. And since you did some video with classic Sonic, no more Sonic. I'm not talking about Sonic anymore. Blackhead. EA is not the company they used to be anymore. No, I mean EA is kind of just. I mean, they change a lot, these companies. Make sure you live up to the hype, Peter, and not overhype it and under-deliver like Peter Molyneux. Yeah. No, I'm not going to be doing the black and white or something like that. Yeah, so it's going to be based on you guys, really. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, that's why it's quite nice to be in this position where I'm just a small YouTuber. Well, the figures don't say I'm a small YouTuber, but really, reality at the moment, I'm a small YouTuber. So it's like, just starting small, and then if people start liking what they're seeing, then the word spreads, right? I'm not going to be the one doing the. But I'm not good at bigging up myself. Never have been. I'm not one of those people. There's some people very good at doing that, giving all the talk. And I've always been one of those people. Always since a child, was I'd rather let my work or my art or whatever I'm doing do the talking and not me. Like I that's why I like to be behind the camera. I don't really. I mean, I love talking to you guys, but I don't like being in front of the camera, which is weird because all the videos at the moment are me in front of the camera. But so it's quite hard to believe that I don't like it. But it was almost like I didn't have a choice because there's no one else who's going to do it. It's just me. So it's like I've got to do this myself. So yeah, I don't want to be the one bigging it up. I want you guys, and I don't want you just to big it up because you feel like you need to support me. It's not about that. It's about everyone feeling like there's. I always think it's almost like a party. If you go to a party and it's dead, and you just need one person to start generating energy, everyone gets into it, and then you get this big, like everyone supports each other, and it becomes much bigger than what it ever was going to be at the beginning. And that's kind of what I think this could be. So yeah, I just think hopefully it will speak for itself, and it will be as good as what's in my head. I don't recommend making too much merchandise. I just think that's a very bad thing. I don't know. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, if people want to buy merchandise, they want to buy merchandise. It's like you're not, as long as you're not forcing it down. Like, what's a very bad thing would be, and what like I think Blackhead said before with EA and things like, well, they shove it down your neck, like you're playing the game, and it will have pop-ups or like to buy extra packs to complete the game or all that. I don't want to do that sort of stuff. I always believe a game should be a game. It should be about the storyline, and you should be able to just play it, and you should be able to play the whole game and enjoy the whole game without having to buy extra packs to sort of complete the game. It's like, that's wrong. But if there's bits that people want to show their support and they want to be part of it, and they love the characters and they love, like at the end of the day, Star Wars, you could watch the film Star Wars and really enjoy it, and then they brought out toys, and it's just like you shouldn't not be able to bring out toys. And if people want to buy the toys and carry on the stories in their head and stuff, brilliant. There's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with merchandise. It's just if it's shoved down your throat, that's when it's not good. I'll spread the word about your channel and game at a convention. Oh, that'd be awesome. Thanks, Black. But again, to be fair, like, it's nice to have it picked up, but I still like to have something to show before people go, oh, it's going to be amazing, and then people go and it's like, oh, there's nothing here yet. Like, there's nothing to show. And actually, on that note, in regards to the Patreon, I know I think a few of you signed up, or a couple of people. Someone signed up. I think it's Dan Chen actually. At the moment, it's literally just a template. I mean, I put it in the video, but it's still just a template at the moment. I haven't got anything on there really at all, other than a welcome thing. I just needed to get it up there just so I had something there. So you're welcome to join it at the moment, but I won't be able to put anything on there probably for the next couple of weeks, and that's when I'm going to start ramping it up. But yeah, it's like that's there for now. But also, again, this video, I want to have your input on it, to see what you guys are saying, and what you want to see on that video. Sorry, on that Patreon page. I'll dress up as Ghostface, that'd be cool. Okay, yeah, so, I mean, yeah, at the moment, the story's done. Well, I say the story, yeah, the outline of the story's done. There's not actually a solid script at the moment, but I don't need the script for the game so much. The characters are developed, and I've got the idea for the first chapter, and so the next stage will be laying out the main sort of structure of the level and creating the main characters within that level, which again I'm going to sort of document through this YouTube channel, but I'm not sure how to do it. I'm not sure like what to just put on the YouTube channel and what to put on Patreon, because it's just really interesting to know what you guys are interested in, what you want to see, and then I can kind of start working that out, which is why the Patreon's not ready yet. So again, comment below on what you think you want to see on the YouTube channel, and what interests you most, because maybe we'll put a poll up on the community tab to figure out what's the most popular stuff. So that will be the next sort of month or so going forward till probably the end of March, is what I'm going to be doing, is creating that first chapter in an art form. So it's like all of the sort of levels there, sort of textured, and then I will do a demonstration of kind of some of the playable bits. And this is where I've got to be careful as well, because it's like I want this to be open to you guys, but at the same time it can't be like, I can't just show the whole game, because it's like, then what's the point of like releasing the game if everyone's like, oh well, I don't even need to play it, it's almost like I've had a playthrough now. So it's got to be like just certain subject matters within that level and that game, rather than the whole thing. But that's the plan, is to start developing the actual layout of the first level over the next month and a half or so, and then starting to look for coders as well, which I might document as well. So like there's the indie game meetups as well, so I might take my camera along, see if people are happy to be filmed and to have conversations. And then if you guys also want to see maybe like playthroughs of other games, because I do think it's good to play other games, like especially obviously the horror ones. So maybe I just have a day in the week where we play, like do a playthrough of a game, if you think that's a really good thing to do. But yeah, so these are the kind of ideas I want to be talking to you guys about. So please comment below, because they will all be taken on board, and it's a really important process here to work out what this channel's about now, because it is kind of open to suggestions now. It's like, well, it's not, I can't do the videos, but I want to make the game, so what are the videos on the YouTube channel going to be about if it's for the game? In regards to the storyline that we've been doing, that's now going to be on, in fact I haven't put a link on that video yet, but I'm moving all the videos across, so you'll be able to, there is a video that actually basically has pretty much finished in edit. I've just got to do the music to it and sound effects, but that's going to be released in the next week as well on that new channel, which I think has got 4 subscribers at the moment, so that's good. Alright, so where are we at? So how will we help you with the game? Well, like Dan Chen, I said, like at the moment it's just kind of ideas, or even if it's games you've really enjoyed, and if there's a game you've really enjoyed, what part of it why have you enjoyed it? Tell me the parts that you've really enjoyed, because then that's stuff we can start looking at and maybe adding those sort of parts into the actual game itself. But yeah, donating as well if you can. But this is the thing, I'm not asking for the money, because it's like, it does help, like I've said in the last video, it massively helps, but it's not something I want to sort of like keep forcing down people's neck, going, yeah, you've got to donate now, because it's like, this game's not going to be the same without it. I'm still gonna do it, it's just gonna take longer. And so yeah, the more people we have behind it, the more likelihood is it's going to be better. Patreon is the only way for money. Yeah, it is at the moment. I will probably, once I get monetized again on this channel, because that's the thing, I've got to delete all the videos, that basically any videos that got kids in. I will keep up some of the videos, because they don't need to be deleted, like the FNAF movies will stay there. What's the other one? I can't remember what it's called now. The FNAF, I can't remember the name of it now. The other one that we did, they're all going to be still on there. It's just anything to do with the kids. But yeah, Dan Chen, so yeah, anything like, or I'm trying to think of other ways you can help with the game. I mean, it's mainly just like, yeah, if you can think of any cool sort of scenes or any kind of game mechanics that work really well, you really enjoyed. It's that sort of stuff. That's what will help. I mean, or if you can model, if you're good at actually modelling stuff in games, then that can help, because I could like actually go, well, I need this model, like, I don't know, an old sewage pipe or something like that. I need that modelled. So yeah, that sort of stuff. Rare don't have to do a task that makes you stay in place, but then you hear something. Yeah, exactly, that sort of stuff. I have actually thought of those sort of things. Yeah, where you're like having to return somewhere where you know something is, kind of thing. That kind of things that like are more psychological than gore. And for me, it's all about what used to scare me when I watched movies and stuff. You just ramp that up and put it into a game. Right, okay, yeah, Bioshock. I might play it again. It was years ago. I mean, when Bioshock came out, it was like 2008 or something, 2009. Forza Horizon. Yeah, not sure if that's going to be that relevant actually. But anyway, VK Studios. Are you okay? Yes. Good to see you. Yeah, no, you can talk about FNAF, Dan. I'm not saying you can't talk about FNAF. It's not that I'm against FNAF. I'm just saying that when people say, well, is FNAF going to be in the game stuff? It's like, no, it's not going to be in the game. Yeah, no, I've heard they started filming it. I mean, it's about time. I remember when we were doing the movie, I was worried that the film was going to come out and then we were going to kind of lose all the audience because everyone would be like, well, it's not the film. And so when we released it, I was like, oh, luckily we released it because the film's going to be coming out in a few months. And that was 2017. Hey, Bubblegummies, make sure to drop a like and support the channel. Yes, she will. Thank you. Actually, I've just realised she was still a whatchamacallit, admin person. So thanks for thanks you always doing your job. Why do you think psychological horror is good? Because it is. Because it's all horror is psychological. Well, all movies are psychological. All games are psychological. But when I say psychological, I don't mean like Silence of the Lambs or like. But that's kind of like what I mean is you play on people's perceptions and fears, and you're. It's almost like you're orchestrating how someone feels at that moment in time. That's psychological. You're getting into their head and you're teasing them with things, so you're suggesting something, but then that doesn't happen, and so then they're like, oh, I'm safe, and there's no music, so it's not scary anymore. But then it is, and like you're just playing with their mind. That's much better than just jumping out with a stupid like man in a mask or something constantly. Like jump scares are just so cheap. They're just such a cheap trick. So it's a party trick. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have jump scares because they definitely have their place, but just having constant jump scares, no, it doesn't work. It's like your mind gets used to it, and that again, I mean, FNAF only had jump scares, but actually you could argue it didn't. It had the psychological side to it because it did have the cameras and that kind of constant drone of sounds. And every so often, that just like these things are getting nearer. That worked really well. That's what I mean by psychological. You had them. You knew they were getting closer. So it wasn't just like you were just looking at a screen and something popping up and scaring you. But yeah, so it would be more that kind of stuff. Okay, so Rare Drumpler says, okay, so you're saying it's FNAF, then you're saying it's not. So which one? I'm confused. What you mean? So the FNAF connected movie stuff or videos with Bubble Hog, me, and those storylines are going on a different channel, which actually is called Bubblegum Monsters as well. I think it's called The Bubblegum Monsters. That's on it now. Those videos are going to be on a separate channel. So this channel is going to be all about the game and the making of the game and the building of the assets and all of that kind of making of kind of stuff, and maybe some playthroughs. It's going to have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with FNAF other than the legacy videos that are on this channel that are FNAF. That is how it's going to change. But this channel is not going to be FNAF. But the other videos, the Bubblegum Monster Universe ones with me in, have still a slight connection with FNAF in them. So if you still enjoy those videos, I'll try and put a card up in this live stream of that, so you can go to that channel. The Freddy and T-Rex prints. Oh yeah, it's still there, isn't it? Actually, I need to dust it. It's getting a bit dusty. Yeah, you need suspense, says Red Rumpler. Yep, you do. Time is 3 o'clock in New York. Oh, you're in New York, are you, Tyler? Cool. Okay, so I think that's kind of everything that I've covered. If you've got any more questions, and put them in the comments, I will reply to the comments. And I'll keep you up to date every week. I'll be releasing videos on this channel, either main videos or shorts, or even in the story thing that you can do on the phone. But yeah, for now that's kind of it. Because I need to head off actually and do something in a minute. But it's good to be back, and I'm quite excited. I am genuinely excited about doing this because it is just such a kind of new venture in a way, but also getting you guys involved in it. It's like it's almost poetic to me. It feels like the right thing. Danton, what horror movies do you like and don't like? There's so many that I like. I like The Descent. I like American Werewolf in London. Sci-fi horror, like I said, Aliens, probably my favourite. And I like some of the gore. Like when I say gore and blood and all that sort of stuff, it's got its place. And I do like some of the films that do it. Like the Saw franchise is pretty good. Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, there's so many dark ones that I really enjoyed, but yeah, I prefer the sort of like suspense side of things. Michigan, okay, that's Tyler. We've got to say this channel. So the channel's not going to die. Like, it might just not get massive amounts of subscribers, but the thing is, and what has always been the case with the channel is I just love doing what I do. I'm not in it for the money. I've always said this to people. It's always like, I could, if I probably wanted to, I could probably make a channel that had 10 million subscribers, and I could be living this lifestyle of like, going off here, there and everywhere and stuff. Because like a lot of these YouTubers do, they just feed into what's popular at that time, and they make and they milk it, and they just literally find like challenges and things like that, and do these challenge videos and make the most of that. But that's not me. Like, I just don't want to do that. I want to do what I want to. I love doing. Like, for example, like going with the FNAF stuff. I could just go full out doing just FNAF stuff the whole time, doing lots of all the different new characters. People going, okay, you do security breach characters and this and that. But it's like, I don't want to do that. Like I liked FNAF, and it had its place in the time I was working on it. But it was mainly because it's horror, and it's the kind of the psychological stuff that I liked all that. But you only live once, and it's like I've got loads of ideas that I'm pretty sure are just as scary and creepy as FNAF, and so it'd be silly for me not to do that. Like, why would you not do that? Especially if you've got the skills to do it, just do it. And actually, that's a big life lesson there. Just do it. Just go out, and if you've got something that you know you're good at and you want to do, don't fear it and think, but what if people don't like it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they don't like it, as long as you like doing it. There will always be someone that likes it, even if it's just your mum. So there'll be someone that likes it, but there won't. There'll always be people that like what you do. I mean, God, you look at some of the rubbish out there that people do, and they have these massive amounts of fans and stuff. It's like, well, if they're doing that and people liking that, then guarantee whatever you do, whatever you love doing, someone else is going to love doing it. As long as it's not actually murdering people. But there will still be people that also like doing that. But I would not recommend that. Anyway, so Jack O'Bonney, I was actually watching your FNAF theme park video. It's still inspiring. Yeah, that was funny, that one. That was actually that FNAF theme park was a kind of what's the word? Like I just thought of it at the moment in time. I was just there with Toby, my son. It was Legoland, and I was just filming stuff, and I went, actually, I could probably superimpose some FNAF stuff in here. So I was like, I'll just do a FNAF theme park, and it actually did really well. Like, I just posted that up and it got millions of views in the first week. I was like, wow, glad I did that. Which was your favourite bubblegum monster to make and print? That's a good question, She-Wolf. So for those who don't know, these are the Bubblegum Monsters that we used to do live streams, and like, for example, Donald Trump there. And so I'd model it and then 3D print it. But my favourite, it's always the ones I think that print better. So usually the chunkier ones. In fact, they're not all in. I don't know where they all are now. All missing. I'm trying to think. I quite like this one though. He's falling apart. The what was his name? I can't remember his name now. Is it Krampus? I quite liked him. Quite like the Sonic the Hedgehog one. Some of them have been painted as well, so they look quite cool. I quite like Flowery or whatever his name is. Yeah, I don't know. My favourite ones aren't here. I think maybe I've put them in the other room. I don't know where they are. They're not my favourite ones. But yeah, no, they're quite close. Like, they mean quite a lot to me. Right, your FNAF thing, but was all over TikTok, and I was trying to keep up with commenting and credit. Really? I didn't know that. I don't use TikTok. I didn't. Oh, I'll have to look that up. So yeah, people have been nicking my stuff, eh? Yeah. Oh well. I was thinking of doing a TikTok thing, but I'm just not very good at like keeping up with all of the sort of different social platforms. I just like to concentrate on one, and that's the thing. That's what feels kind of like I've been betrayed in a way, because I loved YouTube, and I love the fact that it's got kind of all the elements that you have on all the other platforms in one place. I don't have to keep jumping around all these other ones to try and please everyone. It's like, just stick with YouTube. And yeah, I feel like I've always said to people, it's like having a schizophrenic boss. It just feels like you're like in a workplace and you're working really hard and you're really trying to please your boss, and then there's all these other people just throwing like paper airplanes at each other and just jumping on desks and stuff and doing stupid things and just not really making much of an effort at all. And then the boss is coming out and giving them like pay rises and patting them on the back, and then they call you in and just go, "I'm sorry, but yeah, you've been really bad." And you're just like, what? This makes no sense. That's what it feels like working for YouTube. Downtown, what type of monster do you think is scary and not scary? Really big monsters aren't scary. So like Godzilla, not scary. Or slow zombies, not scary. Mummies, rubbish. So anything that is really slow. I mean, obviously there are moments when you can use that, so like even though they're really slow, they can still, like, you're trapped somewhere, then they become scary obviously, but you're so limited then with what you can do with them. And massive monsters can't hide, so anything like that, not scary. I'm
not sure I understand.
No? What? Sorry Siri, I can't help you. It's getting 100,000 plus views. So I should just post it up on my TikTok. Yeah, because you She-Wolf. You should check out She-Wolf's Instagram, because she does loads of cool like cosplay stuff, and she's really good with artwork and her makeup, and she's created all these amazing FNAF. She did like Springtrap, like cosplay costume, and I don't know what other characters you've done actually, She-Wolf, but they always look amazing. I think you should work in the film industry, like for someone like Stan Winston or something like that. Never thought I'd end up in the UK. Yeah, that's so weird. You're not actually that far. I think you're Portsmouth, aren't you? Not far away. Did you like the Predator movies? Yes. Yeah, Predator actually is in my sort of top 10 of sci-fi horror kind of movies. Speaking of zombies, I redid my Thriller cosplay. Oh, awesome. I have to check that out. I got 100k views once and it made me happy. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And that's a lesson as well to be learnt with YouTube. Is like, so you can just hit something that just takes off and becomes a viral video, and then you automatically, I think most people automatically think they've made it then on YouTube, in terms of my next video will get 100k or even more sort of thing. You just automatically think that all these viewers are here for your channel, and they're not. They're not there for your channel at all. They don't actually care about your channel. All they cared about was that one video that happened to go viral, and unless you can keep going on that kind of path, and this is the trap you can fall into in YouTube as well, you keep remaking the same stuff that you know people like watching, but you end up not like doing it, but you have to keep making it because everyone wants it. And that's kind of what, truth be told, that is what's happened with the FNAF thing. I liked making the FNAF stuff, but it's got to the point where I was like, I don't really want to do anything more with FNAF, but I have to, because that's the only things that get the views. And I think what's happened with the channel, or did happen until YouTube decided to completely demonetize it, was that, and I this is kind of an analogy, but it's almost like I built a fortress around myself of like FNAF stuff, which is the content, that then made it really hard, because the way YouTube works with its algorithm is, say you make a video, it's very successful, YouTube sees that and it's like, well, this is really successful, I'm going to feed this out to all the viewers again. If you make another video, I'm going to feed it out to these viewers again, and if they like it, then I'll share it out to even more people, and that's when it goes viral, kind of thing. So when you make something that's very similar to the other one, generally it will do really well again. But what happens if you keep doing that, you end up with all of these videos that YouTube knows it like what your audience is. So that's your kind of wall of people. And so then it's almost like, imagine you've made like a meal, and it's a new meal that everyone's been eating all these other meals. They love your hot dogs or whatever, and then you decide you're going to make a burger or something, I don't know, or an omelette, and you're like, well, it's really nice, I really like this omelette. I'll give it out to my nearest and dearest, which is your subscribers, and see what they think. And they're like, I eat hot dogs, and then they eat this omelette, and they're like, oh, I wanted the hot dog sort of thing. So they're not going to pass it on to anyone else outside of that. So YouTube's like, oh, well, these people that really like your stuff don't like that at all, so we're not going to share it out to anyone else. So that's pretty much what's happened to my new content. It's like it just doesn't get shared out because it hits the people that are proper hardcore FNAF, and they don't want to watch it. They're like, it's not FNAF, don't care. So YouTube's like, oh, they don't care, so we don't care, so your video's not going to go anywhere now. And so if you're a channel and you're doing content that you're not 100% wanting to do for however long, then don't do it. Even if it gets 100,000 views and you're like, wow, that's brilliant. If you don't want to continue making that kind of content, then just don't do it, because you will fall into that trap where you might get loads of subscribers, but those subscribers only care about that. They don't care about anything else you do, unless it's very closely knit to what you know. If I start doing FNAF playthroughs or something like that, then they'd probably do really well. But yeah, you can't do that. So don't fall into that trap. So that's my little bit of advice if you're doing your YouTube and you're thinking, yeah, let's continue that. But if it is something you love doing, continue doing it. My channel needs a lot of work before I start being active again, says She-Wolf. Yeah, I mean, depends what you mean. I mean, if it's just you feel like it's a little bit messy in some of the videos, don't worry about it, because people don't go to the channel. They just don't look at the channel. People will look at your videos and then they'll just be click on the suggested videos. That's all they do, is just click on suggested videos, most people. And so if they really love your stuff, they might go to your channel just to see what else is on there, but most people will just be clicking through on the next suggested video, and they'll see more of your stuff in the sidebar. So what else? I'm trying to spread the word. What's the time? I've got to go. It's 8:15. I'm gonna be late. I do everything A to Z. I don't know what that means. Yeah, you should make a costume for me. That'd be cool. She-Wolf. A good camera. Yeah, I mean, the camera I'm using here is really old. I think it's like 2017 or something, 2016. It's like, what is it? A Logitech one. It's 1080, but yeah, it's a really old camera, and it's still fine. I think you could probably pick one of them out for like 20 quid or something. So there's not really a problem with getting those sort of cameras. So yeah, don't change that type of monster that's scary. Like I've said, aliens, because anything that's kind of emotionless in terms of its, which is again why masks are so scary, because they've got no emotion. If they're smiling, again going back to the psychological thing, they're like smiling and like they're killing you. It's just like this weird kind of messes with your brain kind of thing. But like aliens, they've got sharks. They're not even like monsters, but they're scary because they don't show emotion. They've got black eyes and they've just got loads of teeth. so it's scary. Yeah, they're quite old, the ones on the shelf. Oh, that's another thing I'll probably be doing for this trailer. The Bubblegum Monster trading cards, I'll be printing them up as well, the actual characters.
Here's what I found.
God, Siri, you want to be part of this video, don't you? Why do you keep interrupting me? 5 years. Well done, Tyler. It's hard. It's hard work, isn't it? Yeah, there was an earthquake. It's terrible, isn't it? That was awful. I was watching that earlier. Like, this little kid got pulled out. That was alive, but it's awful to watch that. Right. Anyway, guys, I'm waffling now, and I need to get off because it's come up to 8:30. But I mean, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being part of the channel for the last God knows how long now. What is it? So, 2011 the channel started, but at least a lot of you have been here like 5-6 years. So that's it. Just means so much. So yeah, I will keep you updated with the community tab on polls and things like that, and then I'll start to do some videos on what I'm working on. And again, comment below on what you think you want to see, and we'll start putting this together. So let's do this. Until next time, enjoy your week. Where are we? Tuesday. Enjoy your week, and I will see you. I'll try and do a live stream every week, okay, guys? And I will see you on the next one. See you later.